Namaste, Jai Hind and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narasimhan. Now after 75 years, a new chapter of Bharat's Parliament begins. The Modi government introduced the long-standing bill, the Women's Reservation Bill or the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that this is the first bill being brought in the new Parliament building and described it as a historic change. He urged all MPs to pass the bill and said women-led development is his government's resolve and perhaps that's where lays the future. Women-led development, mind you, was also one of the central themes and one of the outcomes of the G20 summit in New Delhi. This bill proposes reserving 1/3 or 33% seats for women in the Lok Sabha, state assemblies and the National Capital Territory of Delhi. Importantly, it also says that 1/3 of the SC/ST reserved seats in Lok Sabha and the state assemblies should also be reserved for women. However, the reservation for women will come into effect only after the entire delimitation exercise that is scheduled between 2026 and 2027, and that too after the latest census is out, which means that the bill could become a reality on ground only around the 2029 Lok Sabha elections and the state assemblies after this current cycle of elections at the Vidhan Sabha levels is over. Even with New Delhi, that's the case. There is no bearing immediately. It's after the next cycle that it comes into play. Now, the larger question is, whose bill is this? Because both sides of the alley are actually claiming credit, because one passed it in the upper house, the other has brought it via a constitutional amendment in the Lok Sabha today. It's now going to be out there for both houses to pass it together. The larger question is, should the fight be for credit, or should it be that finally 51% of our population is at least getting a 33% assured representation across the board as far as our entire governance system is concerned? The number games, let's try and understand how does it break down, and let's try and understand. Even we ask who's Adhiniyam, answer should be it is for the women of Bharat, but then the politics continues. Let's understand. General seats are 412, of which what will be reserved for women will be 137. For the SCs, that is the scheduled caste, 84 seats are reserved, and for SC women thereafter it will be 28. Scheduled tribes, 47 are reserved, and for ST women it's 15. That's how it is. This is as per the Delimitation Commission order of 2008 that we've got these numbers out. But what the Act very clearly says is that even after the delimitation and the seat increases that happen in 2027, there will be a proportionate rise in the reserved seats for women. The representation will continue there. And that means that there will be more number of women in Parliament across the Vidhan Sabhas or the state assemblies, and of course the Union Territory of the National Capital of Delhi, that is also a quasi-state now. After hanging on for about 27 long years, this Women's Reservation Bill has been tabled in the Lok Sabha. There will be conversation, engagement, speeches that will be made, but a credit war has already erupted between the BJP and the Congress party. So who's saying what? Let's try and understand this. The introduction of this bill is the Congress party's victory. Sonia Gandhi, while entering the Central Hall for the last time in what will now be called the Samvidhan Sadan or the old Parliament, said, it is ours, ye apna bill hai. But the BJP says the bill is the result of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision and resolve. The Congress says BJP is resurrecting a bill that it had itself buried. The BJP says Congress was never very serious about this quota at all. And under the UPA, the bill was passed in the Rajya Sabha in 2010. And they say the Congress was betrayed by its own allies. In fact, Sonia Gandhi is on record in the past saying that many within her own party were opposed to this bill. Now, the bill existed since Rajiv Gandhi's era because it was his vision and there is an acceptance of that. But the political stunt for credit by the Congress party, what you couldn't do, we have implemented. Why are you trying to claim credit for what you could not implement is a question that's being asked. Let's go straight across to our very, very august panel this evening. And first up itself, I would like to say Namaste, Jai Hind to Harish Rawat ji, former Chief Minister of Uttarakhand, who's joining us. Harish Rawat ji, Namaste. सबसे पहले तो let me ask you, sir, what would you reckon? देर आए दुरुस्त आए, credit को छोड़िए, at least महिला representation is happening. Would you take that point of view?
देर आए दुरुस्त आए, इलेक्शन के कंपल्सन में आए, हार की डर से आए, जैसे भी आए, मगर आए मगर आने के बाद बिल्कुल आधे अधूरे आए। आपने जो है इतनी दूर लटका दिया 2029 के लिए कि तब तक महिलाओं से कहा है नहीं देखते रहो इसको, मैंने आरक्षण की हंडिया जो है लटका दी है ऊपर। तो ये अदा जो है मोदी जी की किसी को अच्छी नहीं लगी। ये महिलाओं के साथ उन्होंने एक प्रकार से धोखा कर दिया है। एक यदि देना था, अपना ही नाम भी लगाना था, ठीक है। कांग्रेस का कंसेप्ट हमेशा आरक्षण रहा है, कांग्रेस का माइंड सेट रहा है कि आरक्षण के लिए, और राहुल गांधी जी का कमिटमेंट था, न राजीव गांधी जी का कमिटमेंट था, और उस कमिटमेंट को हमने यूपीए की गवर्नमेंट में आगे बढ़ाया और राज्यसभा में पास करवाया। लेकिन लोकसभा में आते आते तक हमारे पास नंबर्स का कंपल्सन था, इसलिए दिक्कत आ गई। मगर आप जानते हैं, जो राज्यसभा एक बार बिल को पास कर देती है तो बिल लैप्स नहीं होता है, खत्म नहीं होता है। तो चाहिए ये था, यदि आप ईमानदार थे तो क्रेडिट की बात में जाने के बजाय आप सीधे सीधे कहते भाई कांग्रेस की गवर्नमेंट तो उसके बाद आई नहीं, उन्होंने किया नहीं, लेकिन मैं इस बिल को पास करवा ले रहा हूँ। और क्योंकि उस पर फिर ये सेंसस का नियम भी लागू नहीं होता, क्योंकि वो पिछली सेंसस से पहले टेबल्ड बिल था, तो आप उसको अडॉप्ट कर लेते, ये सब दिक्कतें नहीं आती जी। मगर आपने जानबूझ करके एक नया नाम दे करके, आप क्योंकि आपको इवेंट बनाना है ना, तो इवेंट बनाने के लिए आपने ये सब कुछ किया। मगर किया, मैंने कहा जैसा कि बिल्कुल आधा अधूरा किया। पहले तो देर आए, चलो दुरुस्त आए, मगर आए तो जो है आधे अधूरे आए, और वो भी इतनी दूर लटका दिया 2029 की पर जो है जो आरक्षण है कि महिलाएं तब तक देखती रहे।
क्योंकि आप फॉर्मर चीफ मिनिस्टर भी रहे हैं और इलेक्शंस तो आप समझते हैं पॉलिटिकल प्रोसेस, पर एक सिस्टम भी जरूरत है की आवश्यकता है। प्लीज टेल मी, is it possible to actually implement it for the 2024 Lok Sabha elections? Is it possible to bring in women's reservation and implement it in such a way कि सही मायने में विमेन कैंडिडेट्स मिले और प्रॉक्सीज ना मिले, यानी कि विधायक पति और ये सांसद पति वाला सिंड्रोम ना हो कि प्रॉक्सीज खड़ी हो जाए?
देखिए, ये स्थितियां धीरे धीरे बदलती हैं। आज अब प्रधान पति वाली और नगर पालिका मेंबर पति वाली स्थिति धीरे धीरे बदल रही है। पहले जिला पंचायतें भी इवन अध्यक्ष हो जाती थी, मगर जो है जिला पंचायत अध्यक्ष पति बगल में खड़े रहते थे। लेकिन अब महिलाएं एग्जिट कर रही हैं, और अब ये गांव में भी ये सवाल नहीं है कि प्रधानपति वाला जो है। तो महिलाओं के अंदर कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल अब काफ़ी बढ़ गया है, और जो असेंबली तक आएंगी, पार्लियामेंट तक आएंगी, वो महिलाएं पहले से ही एक्टिव रहेंगी। ऐसा नहीं है कि महिलाओं की संख्या पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज में इतनी कम है, और कुछ मान लिया नहीं भी होंगी तब तो वो सीख जाएंगी बाद में जो है। लेकिन उसके लिए आपने 2029 के लिए चीज़ों को उछाल दिया, और किसने देखा है तेरे जुल्फों के सर होने तक, क्या बातें होंगी तो 2029 तक जो है। तो आपने ये सब चीज़ें जो है एक गिमिक के तौर पर इस्तेमाल किया, और हमें अच्छा नहीं लगा। पहले अच्छा लग रहा था जब तक हम ये सुन रहे थे आरक्षण का बिल ला रहे हैं हम। हाँ, ये ठीक है, एज पॉलिटिकल पार्टी, एज अलायंस भी हम इस बात को कह रहे थे कि भाई स्पेशल सेशन बुलाया है तो महिलाओं का आरक्षण लाओ करके। मगर आप उसको ऐसा लाएंगे कि इतनी दूर का चंदा मामा दूर के तो अब नजदीक के हो गए, इन्होंने आरक्षण दूर का बना दिया महिला आरक्षण
पर आपको क्या लगता है कि रुख क्या होना चाहिए कि क्या फिर से इस एस्पेक्ट पे कि आप इसको इतना दूर आपने लटका दिया, क्या इसको फिर अटका देना चाहिए? देखिए, या फिर कहीं ना कहीं आपको लगता है कि एज अ हाउस अगर दोनों सदन पास कर दें तो इस बिल को कभी ना कभी तो लागू करना पड़ेगा, सो इट्स अ स्टेप इन दैट डायरेक्शन। वेयर डू यू स्टैंड ऑन दैट, सर?
देखिए, हमारे लीडर ने बिल्कुल साफ तौर पर कह दिया, राहुल जी ने, हम अनकंडीशनल सपोर्ट करेंगे जी। तो हमको एक बार फिर से सारी बात को देखना पड़ेगा। लेकिन हम चाहते हैं ये बिल पास हो, हम ये नहीं चाहते कि ये पास ना हो। लेकिन जो हकीकत है वो हकीकत का आईना तो दिखाना पड़ेगा कि भाई आप लाए और किस रूप में लाए, क्या का इरादा है, वो इरादा तो हमको एक्सपोज कराना पड़ेगा गवर्नमेंट का, नहीं तो फिर हम कैसे अपोजिशन है यदि हम इनका ठीक तरीके से इनके इरादे का पोस्टमार्टम न कर सकें। अदरवाइज आप कहेंगे कि साहब इससे तो बढ़िया हम मीडिया वाले हैं कि हम तो कम से कम पोस्टमार्टम कर देते व्हाट द इंडियन अपोजिशन इज डूइंग, व्हाट इंडिया एज ए ब्लॉक इज डूइंग। तो आप हमसे क्वेश्चन करेंगे, इसलिए हम जो है ये विश्लेषण जरूर करेंगे, सत्य को जरूर लोगों के सामने लाएंगे और ये जरूर कहेंगे कि यदि आप ईमानदार थे तो राज्यसभा में पारित बिल को लाते, उसमें सेंसस का झंझट भी नहीं रहता और जो है आप उसको ठीक तरीके से पास करके
there has to be some rationale to be justified, so we'll try and ask the BJP national spokesperson of the BJP, Sanju Verma, should be joining us any moment. L Hanumantayya ji of the Congress party, Rajya Sabha MP in the Congress, is with us, and K Raguramakrishna Raju MP Lok Sabha is also with us. But Harish Rawat ji, I just want to ask you one thing. Even if this bill, अगर जैसा आप आरोप लगा रहे हैं कि इन्होंने दिखा तो दिया कि they dangled the carrot but so far away, is it possible for parties to take a principled position that they will look at 1/3 reservation for their candidates for the forthcoming elections in May 2024? Can political parties show that kind of a will? Is it possible? Is there that kind of preparedness and mindset? Let me ask you, sir, before I take it across to all our other speakers.
हमने अपने उदयपुर समिट में और ये तय किया कि महिलाओं का हम इनटेक जो है कांग्रेस वर्किंग कमेटी में भी बढ़ाएंगे, हर बॉडी में बढ़ाएंगे और हम निश्चित तौर पर जो है जो टिकट भी हैं पार्लियामेंट के और लोकसभा के, वो दोनों में हम लोकसभा और विधानसभा के टिकट्स हम ज़्यादा महिलाओं को देंगे, हम तो करेंगे कमिटमेंट। लेकिन चूंकि एक अलायंस भी वर्क करेगा, अलायंस किस तरीके से सब चीज़ों को तय करता है उस पर भी बहुत कुछ निर्भर करेगा। मगर आप ये पक्का मान करके चलिए कि कांग्रेस पहले की तुलना में बहुत ज़्यादा जो है महिला रिप्रेजेंटेशन को लोकसभा में अपनी टिकट्स के मामले में और विधानसभा में बढ़ाएगी। आप इसको पक्का जो है मान करके चलिए। मैं अपनी लीडरशिप की दिल की भावना को समझता हूं और मैं उसके आधार पर
it will be truly appreciated, sir, because a lot of times this question has been asked that why do you need a bill to mandate something which all political parties can by default do, that they can ensure that 1/3 of their entire list of candidates across constituencies will be women candidates or eligible women within their own party and their own cadre and their own alliance. That can be a position and a big statement that can be made, even as as you are alleging that this bill has been deliberately dangled there for exacting political capital and event management, but not with the vision of actually giving reservation to women and representation to women. Harish Rawat ji, please stay on. I'm just bringing in Raghuram Krishna Raju ji and also L Hanumantayya ji before I bring in Sanju Verma. So, namaste, greetings on the occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi to everybody. Congratulations on moving into a new parliament, a parliament for the future, especially to our two parliamentarians. But Raghuram Krishna Raju ji, how would you see the bill itself? It's an e-bill. For the first time, we got a bill which is an e-bill. So everybody has access to all the pages and every word and draft. Nobody can say कि हमें ये पन्ना नहीं मिला, हमें आधा अधूरा मिला. सबको एक ही PDF गया है सबके तरफ से. So Raghuram Krishna Raju ji.
No, it's a long pending bill, as even Congress people were telling. Though they had introduced, I must give the credit to Modi ji for taking the initiative, and no doubt there is an overwhelming support from all the quarters, the parties which would normally oppose the bills, those were put in by the ruling party. There is no single party which did not support. There is an overwhelming support, and I am sure in the next 2 to 3 days before we conclude the session, both the houses would approve it. Until now, we have restricted the women by praying them as Goddess Durga, Goddess Lakshmi. We had restricted them to the temples, and temples are in the puja rooms. But really, it is exhibited now with the commitment of this government. Though yes, Congress has laid the foundation, but it was not built. But Modi ji could complete that mansion of getting the Philip to the woman whom we have been worshipping
Sir,
since ages, but without giving the real Philip to them.
These platitudes
I'm
sound
really
very
happy
nice.
that,
YSRCP has also, YSR Jagan Mohan Reddy has also come out openly saying we unconditionally support the bill and we'll back the passage of the bill. But which political party has on principle basis saying bill or no bill, we'll give 33% of our seats across Vidhan Sabha and also at the Lok Sabha for, we'll keep it for women. No political party till date has done that. L. Hanumantaya ji.
No, Anand. See, your point
Yes.
is very good, Anand. You are now put it
Let
before
Mr.
the
Raghuram
political
Krishna Raju
parties.
just
We
quickly
have to
finish and
see.
then I'll bring you Mr. Hanumantaya.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Mr.
I'll finish it. Because your point is very right, Anand. You said, why all this? If you have the right will to do it, you could have done it. Yes, it is a very welcoming suggestion, and I am sure as a political party which had introduced and which is getting it passed, if not 33%, I think they should prove their commitment by giving the maximum to the closest possible.
See, why
to
this
the
qualification?
33%
27
in
years,
the coming,
everybody has
elections.
said, yeah, we should do it, we should do it. Nobody did it. Now they are saying we will do it, but they will do it maybe 5 years later. Why all this dilly-dallying? L. Hanumantaya ji, where do you stand, sir? Do you agree with Harish Rawat ji when he says that the BJP
No.
just dangled a carrot? They don't actually plan to do it. Why delay it? You could have done it for 2024. Where do you stand, Mr. Hanumantaya?
No, not only that, the BJP government has come and they are in the power for the last 9 years. They should have brought this bill much earlier. And you very well know, Sonia ji, by her efforts, have passed this bill in UPA government in Rajya Sabha. And the word she said that it is our bill, it is 100% true that it is the bill aspired by the Congress party and the UPA to pass this bill, but unfortunately it could not pass in the Lok Sabha. But now all parties are ready to pass this bill, there is no doubt about it. Many parties are eager to pass because there is the internal pressure from all the parties that women should get their deserving reservation across the country. You are showing in your channel that all the states, the women wings are celebrating this move by in almost all the states. So it shows no party can go against this bill and they will definitely pass this bill.
Here is my
one more
question,
question which you raised very genuinely.
Yes, sir. Please complete.
Which you raised genuinely, that why the parties are not giving 33% without the bill. But this country, these political parties are male-dominated political parties across the party line. Whether it is BJP or any party for that matter, you can preach and you can tell, but there is no confidence in every political party that we can win with the women reserved seats are going to be given.
So this is where I'm saying.
Now I
Hanumantaya ji,
wanted to.
Hanumantaya ji.
I just.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask
Yeah.
you, sir, why is it that only the women's wing or all
Yeah.
parties are celebrating? Why aren't the men's wing or the men also celebrating? That itself shows. Harish Rawat ji is also having a laugh. सही गलत तो नहीं पूछ रहा हूँ.
No, I just want. I just wanted to put
I have
it.
already celebrated with my wife.
No, one simple thing I wanted to put it.
जी.
The male domination in the minds of the MPs even is not that it should be given. Because if that is the mind of the political parties, it would have been done long ago. But it is not so. So there must be a law to implement these kind of things.
So यानी
I
sir,
think there are so many
that means you are
examples in
saying,
this
sir.
country.
That means you are saying, sir, that the menfolk or the patriarchal mindset of parties will not change unless there is a law. That is a reflection of all political parties and the leadership also. The other party's capability तब आएगी जब आप capability बढ़ाएंगे. So you are expecting 51% of the population to come out and vote for a male candidate, but you can't expect the 49% to come out and vote for female candidates. Ramakrishna Rajuji, Raghuram Krishna Rajuji, that's a big statement on mindset. Before I bring in Sanju Verma, Sanjuji, thank you for your patience. Apologies for coming in late to you, but yes.
No worries.
Raghuram Krishna Rajuji.
Yeah, come again, Anand. I did not
So
follow.
I'm just saying, so the men folk across all the parties need a law to ensure that the women folk come in. 49% of the country's population needs a law to ensure 51% get equal representation. This is not even equal representation or fair representation.
Yeah, it is not an equal representation. That I agree.
No,
but
it is true.
My friend Hanumantayaji, what he said, he is perhaps talking of a level playing field, because if one seat is reserved for women, Congress would field a lady candidate, and even BJP would field a lady candidate. So there is a fair ground. Otherwise, perhaps he would have meant, if Congress fields a woman candidate and someone else fields a male candidate, he might be able to dominate. So as a level playing field.
Why do you think? I thought you would say level playing field because the women will have unfair advantage. Why are you coming from a mindset where you say that the male candidate will have an unfair advantage?
No, I am not saying that. I
just said it.
Not
Perhaps
only just women and men.
my colleague,
Anand.
my parliament colleague is of that opinion. What I mean to say, in fact, why men folk did not celebrate. In fact, I had given sweet to my wife the moment I came out from my parliament. I said,
No,
good days are coming for the women folk.
No, my point is, sir, you have given sweet to your wife. Will you give your seat to your wife? That's the big question. That's the big question. That's the big question.
No, that's not.
Yeah.
In fact,
Sir,
if
Sandhu
it
Verma
is
ji.
implemented from
Very
24,
good question. Very good
if
question.
it is
Now
implemented
here-
from 24, I would have been very happy.
My apologies that on this panel tonight, we do not have a 1/3 representation. It's less than that. It's just about 15% like in the Lok Sabha. But it is still quite a robust representation from a national spokesperson of the BJP. But this is because we wanted the men folk to come out and say that we are also celebrating. It's not that the men folk are worried, "Arey, hamari to aur seatein kam ho gayi." Yes.
Yeah, Anandji, thank you for having me. A very interesting discussion, and your debates are in any case not cantankerous, but even otherwise, I think today is a very healthy discussion from the routine affair when debates tend to become so belligerent. Before speaking on the issue, I'll just take 10 seconds. मैं कुछ पंक्तियां बोलना चाहूंगी. नारी तू नारायणी, नारी तू वरदान, नारी तू नारायणी, नारी तू वरदान, नारी नर की जान है, नारी है अभिमान, नारी नर की जान है, नारी है अभिमान, नारी बिन जग सूना, सूना धरा आकाश, नारी बिन जग सूना, सूना धरा आकाश, प्रेम प्रतिष्ठा मान सब, प्रेम प्रतिष्ठा मान सब, बिन नारी उपहास, बिन नारी उपहास. तो कहने का तात्पर्य ये है फॉर योर ऑडियंस. थैंक यू हरीश जी, आई वाज लिसनिंग टू यू. आपकी बहुत सारी बातों के साथ मैं सहमत हूं और कुछ बातों के साथ असहमत थी, बट बड़ी विनम्रता पूर्वक आई विल जस्ट से दिस, दैट हम नारी को नारायणी की जगह देते हैं. वी गिव नारी the ethereal place of being a vardhan, being a blessing. हम कहते हैं नारी हमारा अभिमान है, the women folk are our pride. But और आज मैं ये डिस्कशन को सिर्फ पॉलिटिसाइज नहीं करना चाहती हूँ. बीजेपी के राष्ट्रीय प्रवक्ता तो मैं हूं ही, पर उसके अलावा आई थिंक आई एम अ बोनाफाइड सिटीजन. मैं एक महिला हूं, तो एक महिला और एक आम नागरिक के तौर पर व्हाट आई वांट टू से आनंद इज दैट एक तरफ हम कहते हैं रिजर्वेशंस क्यों, women should get entry into parliament on the basis of their merit. So I would just like to quote, there was a very interesting study done by the Harvard Kennedy School way back in 2010, Harvard Kennedy School of Public Policy, and it said not only emerging market economies, not only the developing world, China, India, Indonesia, what have you, even in mature and highly developed economies like the US, UK, large parts of the European Union, they found that women are the largest when it comes to casting their vote.
Yes.
Casting their franchise. But when it comes to representation in public bodies, in the parliament or legislative bodies, women find themselves completely marginalized. They find themselves vulnerable. The words used were, they find themselves at the fringes of being one of the most vulnerable groups, and a representation in terms of a reservation is needed only to ensure that the inherently patriarchal political system which has been perpetuated by the alpha male over generations, that finally comes to an end.
Correct.
तो मैं ये कहना चाहूंगी that politics
I
aside,
don't dispute all of this. Please, Sanjuji, sorry to interrupt you because I just want to circulate this, but let's get to the point. The core point of this is, does the BJP have it in its constitution that it will have at least 1/3 representation of women across its cadre and across its office bearers? Does the Congress have it in its constitution? Does the YSRCP have it in its constitution? Does any political party in our country, each political party that's registered with the Election Commission of India, has its own constitution which it has to adhere to if it comes to a legal process or a litigation, and they have to follow this constitution? It's an internal constitution. Does any political party in our country have it in their constitution that there has to be at least a 33% representation for women? And we got to promote women leadership. No political party has it. But they're all sitting in parliament, or their representatives are sitting in parliament to legislate on a reservation when the election and how they are elected. So I'm just saying that the core philosophy is not being followed by the parties which are going to seek votes. How are you going to then develop cadre, and how are you going to bring that mindset that bill or not, reservation or not, we will make sure that there is gender parity. The other question, Sanjuji, is it took 9 years for the NDA and the BJP to come and touch the women's reservation bill, and you pushed it another 5 years. That's what Harish Rawat ji was saying. कि 9 साल लग गए कि आपने उसको बिल को हाथ लगा के आपने इतना दूर लगा दिया कि दूरबीन रख के देखना पड़ेगा कि आएंगे, अब आएंगे.
ओके आनंद जी, मैं इंतजार कर रही थी कि आखिर ये पॉलिटिकल डिबेट तो बनेगी. आपने बड़ा तीखा सवाल किया. अब मैं आपके तीखे सवाल का बड़ी विनम्रता पूर्वक जवाब देना चाहूंगी. I just have this to say, yes, you can put BJP in the dock asking why after 9.5 years. But also, when you ask that question, please understand that you have to also give credit to the BJP for the fact that in 1998, in 1999, in 2002, and in 2003, 4 baar, repeatedly on 4 occasions, Atal Bihari Vajpayee tried to bring in the women reservation bill. And mind you, none of the opposition members today who are wanting to take credit supported Vajpayee then. But the very interesting bit which nobody seems to be discussing is, जब कांग्रेस ने ये महिला आरक्षण विधेयक लाने की कोशिश की थी 2010 में, बीजेपी सपोर्टेड इट. द समाजवादी पार्टी एंड द आरजेडी did not support Sonia Gandhi and Manmohan Singh.
No, the BJP supported it. BJP supported it in the Rajya Sabha. Arun Jaitley ji supported it, but in the Lok Sabha, if my memory serves me right, the support was not there. But
BJP supported it unconditionally.
Okay,
Anand,
then I stand corrected. But I am coming to this now. My question is, you said all right, women's reservation bill karenge. Harish Rawat ji's question is, why did you bring in the census and delimitation ka hurdle? Why did you push this gap for 5 years? Why not do it for Lok Sabha 2024?
Okay, ये एक बहुत बढ़िया सवाल है. बट राष्ट्रीय प्रवक्ता होने के नाते मेरे भी कुछ लिमिटेशंस हैं, मुझ पर भी कई प्रकार के अंकुश हैं. I will just tell Mr. Rawat and also others on your panel and particularly your audience, कल तक का इंतजार करिए. आज तो बिल को लोकसभा में इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया एंड अर्जुन मेघवाल, द यूनियन लॉ मिनिस्टर, हैज कैटेगोरिकली सेड कि विपक्ष का एक एक मुद्दा जो उठाया जाएगा, उनके एक एक सवाल का कल जवाब मिलेगा. एंड व्हाई नॉट इन 2014 या 2015, अभी 2023 में क्यों किया जा रहा है? इन सब सवालों का जवाब बस कुछ ही घंटे हैं लोकसभा में कल आपको मिलेगा.
मैं तो 9-9.5 साल का भी छोड़ दीजिए. आई एम जस्ट सेइंग, हरीश रावत जी, इज देयर, लेट्स ट्राई, आई रिक्वेस्ट यू टू प्ले द डेविल्स एडवोकेट बिकॉज यू आर अ फॉर्मर चीफ मिनिस्टर आल्सो. Can there be a rationale to say we need to wait for delimitation and we also need to wait for the census? Is there a reason why? Is it to identify the constituencies, or is it to also say that when the size grows, size of the parliament itself grows to about 1287 members, then the representation also increases in both the houses? This is only for the House of Peoples, that's the Lok Sabha. So Lok Sabha size will increase from about 543 to 887 if my memory serves me right. So then that means that everybody gets representation and nobody will feel कि यार मेरी सीट छीन गई. हरीश रावत जी.
आनंद जी, you have many googlies in your hand जो है, तो इसीलिए जो है, जो बीजेपी की स्पोक्स पर्सन है, उन्होंने मेन क्वेश्चन को स्किप करने की कोशिश की। देखिए, यदि गवर्नमेंट के पास मेजॉरिटी है और सपोर्ट है, यहाँ तक कि कोई कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट भी आवश्यक हो कि इस बिल को पास करवाने के लिए, ताकि 2024 के अंदर जो है ये लागू हो सके। वोमेंस को जो उनका ओवरड्यू है, जिसके लिए वो बहुत दिनों से लड़ रही हैं, सोनिया गांधी जी हर बार एक पत्र लिखती हैं इसके लिए, हर बार इस बात को उठाती हैं, तो क्योंकि वो उनके कंसर्न को समझती हैं, उनकी पीड़ा को समझती हैं, तो हम तैयार हैं उसके लिए। लेकिन क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट का इरादा कुछ और है, क्योंकि 2024 के बाद कई सिचुएशंस बदलेंगी, न केवल सेंसस से, फिर उसके डिलिमिटेशन डिलिमिटेशन से, और बहुत सारी चीज़ों से बदलेंगी। तो गवर्नमेंट उनके साथ इन सब चीज़ों को मिक्सअप करना चाहती है। क्या उसके बाद स्थिति इमर्ज करेगी, कोई नहीं कह सकता। हमको कोई एक्यूज नहीं कर सकता, इसलिए क्योंकि कांग्रेस का रिजर्वेशन बेसिक कंसेप्ट रहा है, चाहे वो संविधान में इंट्रोड्यूस करने का हो या उसके बाद जो है, जो टाइम टू टाइम पर जो है रिजर्वेशन के विषय में जो स्टेप्स लिए गए, ऑल द स्टेप्स वर टेकन बाय द कांग्रेस गवर्नमेंट।
बट सर,
हमको कोई वन सेकेंड आनंद जी, हमको कोई ये नहीं कह सकता कि वी आर मेल डोमिनेटेड पार्टी। कांग्रेस हैज द क्रेडिट टू गिव द फर्स्ट women prime minister of the country,
yes,
that too Indira Gandhi ji।
I want to come in, Anand, please।
हम पहली पार्टी हैं जिसने अपने राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष महिला को बनाया फॉर द लॉन्गेस्ट पीरियड जी, कांग्रेस के प्रेसिडेंट के रूप में जो है। तो ये हमारा कमिटमेंट जो है महिलाओं के लिए 100% है, उसमें कहीं कोई डाउट की बात है ही नहीं। सरकार जो है अपने वहाँ क्लियरिटी लाए और वो 2024 में इंट्रोड्यूस करना चाहते हैं ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ कांग्रेस पार्टी। आई एम विलिंग टू कमिट दैट कि हम जो है कोई भी ऐसी हर्डल है उसको पार करने में उनका साथ देंगे।
So that's your point of one minute Sanju ji, please। I'm just saying, sir, yes, there are a lot of firsts, but look at this 75 years के इतिहास में Prime Minister himself said 600 female MPs. Right now the representation in Lok Sabha is 15% women, the highest till date. It's not a number that we should be proud of. My simple point is, yes, women have been encouraged. We've had the first female women prime minister. There are a lot of firsts as far as women is concerned. But point is, no political party till date in its constitution has mandated that they will ensure that they have at least 33% female cadre in there as office bearers and also contesting. They should be able to create such leaders who have strong winnability. Today what happens is, my biggest concern is, and Hanumantaya ji, before I come to you, Sanju ji, I know I'll give you your response, ma'am. Hanumantaya ji, the concern right now is, will there be a fair representation? Are political parties even ready to field women candidates, or will they be proxies?
No. Anand ji.
Yes, go ahead. I can hear you, sir.
I'm not hearing. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I must tell you, when it becomes a law, every political party has to field the women candidates without any option. But it takes some time to bring out those candidates who are capable of playing in the level fields as well as in the parliament. The day may come, I must tell you, the day may come that the male candidates may have to ask for reservation tomorrow. Please also understand. See, our local bodies have already experienced. Our local bodies have already experienced. They are running very efficiently with male and female. So that is going to happen in assemblies as well as parliament. So there cannot be any doubt. But for some years, it can be an experiment. The experiment has to prove itself that we have very efficient. And it is true in India today, we have very efficient female leaders in all the fields, whether it is science, whether it is technology, whether it is politics. There are very efficient candidates. They will definitely, we will prepare the women leadership in this country after
Sir,
the bill is going
that's
to be
what I am trying to
implemented.
say, sir. The men just need to prepare themselves. The party needs to create an avenue that everybody gets an equal chance to prepare each other. The men don't need to prepare female candidates. Women candidates are capable. उनको मौका चाहिए, sir.
Anand.
मौका देंगे तो चौका
women
मारेंगे.
can
But
see-
Sanju Verma ji wanted to respond
women-
to Harish Rawat.
please.
Women
Yeah.
candidates were not, are there.
हाँ,
No,
Are
but
there?
why are they
We
not
have given
there?
them a
1
choice.
minute.
They were
Sanju
given
Verma and
leaders.
then Harish Rawat ji. Sanju Verma and then Harish Rawat ji. Yeah, Sanju ji.
You know, मैं हरीश रावत जी और कांग्रेस के भी जो नेता हैं आपका प्रोग्राम देख रहे हैं, बार बार जो ये दुहाई देते हैं कि हमने देश को पहली महिला प्रधानमंत्री इंदिरा गांधी दी, बात सही है, बट एट द सेम टाइम जब आप ये कहते हैं, आपको ये नहीं भूलना चाहिए दैट केउंझर डिस्ट्रिक्ट, वन ऑफ द मोस्ट बैकवर्ड डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स इन ओडिशा, द सांथाल ट्राइब, वन ऑफ द मोस्ट डिसएम्पावर्ड ट्राइबल ग्रुप्स, वहां से एक महिला द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी को देश का राष्ट्रपति बनाने में सबसे बड़ा योगदान यदि किसी का है तो वो सिर्फ मोदी सरकार का नहीं, प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी एक्चुअली स्टेक्ड हिज पर्सनल कैपिटल टू एंश्योर दैट द्रौपदी मुर्मू बिकेम द फर्स्ट ट्राइबल एंड द फर्स्ट woman president after Pratibha Patil. And I will add one more thing. Please allow me. You have been asking a very pertinent question, Anand, and you know, I need to tell this to your audience. In the BJP, by and large, in most organizational groupings, 33% of the leadership positions are given to women, and national executive of the BJP की एक मीटिंग हुई थी जून 25 और जून 26 को 2007 में, when राजनाथ सिंह at that time was the party president, वो अध्यक्ष थे, और उन्होंने कहा, I believe that our women folks should get 33% positions in BJP's organization, and I will like the national executive to consider this so that it can pave the way for 33% reservation for women going forward in all other areas. उन्होंने सुषमा स्वराज के नेतृत्व के तहत एक कमेटी का गठन किया था जिसमें नजमा हेप्तुल्ला और सुमित्रा महाजन भी मेंबर्स थी, और आज मैं बहुत गर्वान्वित महसूस करती हूं कि बीजेपी की पदाधिकारी होने के साथ साथ मैं डंके की चोट पर कह सकती हूं दैट मोस्ट ऑफ आवर स्टेट लेवल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस have 33% or even more representation.
It's great if it is done. It's great it is done as a practice without any legislation, or it is there. But I still hold by the fact that it is still not part of any party's political party's
Anand, learn to give credit sometimes to the BJP.
No, I'm not saying it's fantastic if it is as a practice. If it
हमने
was
वो
made
करके दिखाया जो
a
बाकी
suggestion that's been made in 2007, and if it is being practiced. Harish Rawat ji, final point of view, sir. Yes.
जी, एक बीजेपी को ये क्रेडिट तो जाता है कि उन्होंने देश की राष्ट्रपति के लिए एक संथाल महिला को आगे बढ़ाया, मगर जब वो राष्ट्रपति हो गई तो उनको इस लायक नहीं समझा कि वो नए पार्लियामेंट भवन का इनॉग्रेट कर सकें, उसका शुभारंभ कर सकें। नंबर वन। नंबर टू, आपकी ये डिबेट का एक परिणाम तो ये रहेगा कि हर पार्टी के सामने एक चैलेंज अब आ गया है कि वो 2024 के लिए अपने कैंडिडेट्स की संख्या को बढ़ाएं, और मैं कांग्रेस की तरफ से आपको कह सकता हूं, अपनी लीडरशिप की माइंडसेट को जानता हूं कि कांग्रेस जो है अपने महिला उम्मीदवार ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा फील्ड करेगी इस बार जो है।
बहुत 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 साधुवाद इसके लिए। मैं तो चाहूंगा कि सर जो बिल 29 में एक्सपेक्टेड है कि एक्चुअली फ्रक्टिफाई होगा, उसको हम प्रैक्टिस अभी से करना शुरू कर दें। इफ दैट इज पॉसिबल इन द फोर्थकमिंग इलेक्शंस एंड पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज कम आउट एंड से दिस इज व्हाट वी आर डूइंग, everybody will salute that, and that's the spirit with which perhaps we need to move forward as a country and put pressure on the other that they also need to follow, and perhaps that's the best cue that can be given to anybody. I thank you everybody. Thank you so much for such an engaging but a very nice and open discussion and a conversation on this. Let's see if we have a similar conversation in Parliament on day one of actual engagements and transaction of business after everybody's moved into the new Parliament House. We're going to take a very, very short break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, the focus on Justin Trudeau and the harakiri that he's committed, the political harakiri of driving a wedge between two friendly nations for perhaps political gains and desperation. But is this Bharat's opportunity Should we strike and strike hard at the K gangs? Stay with us.
Canada has declared its deep concerns to the top intelligence and security officials of the Indian government. Last week at the G20, I brought them personally and directly to Prime Minister Modi in no uncertain terms. Any involvement of a foreign government in the killing of a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil is an unacceptable violation of our sovereignty.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Moments ago, the Prime Minister.
As you would expect, we've been working closely and coordinating with our allies on this very serious matter. In the strongest possible terms, I continue to urge the Government of India to cooperate with Canada to get to the bottom of this matter. I know many Canadians, particularly members of the Indo-Canadian community, are feeling angry or perhaps frightened right now. Let us not allow this to change us. Let us remain calm and steadfast in our commitment to our democratic principles and our adherence to the rule of law. This is who we are and what we do as Canadians.
Okay, and now déclaration de ministre, l'honorable ministre du patrimoine canadien.
The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage.
In what could become a major diplomatic fallout between India and Canada, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has alleged that they are investigating credible evidences, links that there could be Indian agencies' role in killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Hardeep Singh Nijjar, remember, was killed in the month of June in Surrey, Gurudwara, where he was a senior official also. He was killed in a parking lot and it was believed to be an assassination or an infight among the group members. He was a dreaded terrorist, an activist in the name of Khalistani movement. He was wanted in India for several crimes that he had committed, and his killing was kind of seen in Canada as a in the investigation, as the investigation proceeded further, that there has so far not been any established link between his killing and Indian agencies. But now Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, has said that for weeks they have been investigating a link that could say that the role of Indian agencies were very much behind the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. He said that he had brought this issue up while having a conversation with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. We had seen Justin Trudeau having a conversation with Prime Minister Modi on the sidelines of G20 summit level talks. Apparently, Justin Trudeau has brought this up, saying that foreign involvement in Canada's domestic affair is something that is being witnessed, and Indian Prime Minister has duly rejected any such allegations right there, saying that Khalistani movement, which is picking up a lot of steam in Canada these days, that needs to be tackled, and that is something that India has been very concerned. We have seen in the recent months several exhibitions, parades, and attempts to defaced temple walls, and so many stuffs happening with this kind of threatening to Indian community living in Canada. India has raised the issue in past with the Canadian authority for not keeping or not curbing the illegal activities of Khalistani leaders or Khalistani movement referendum that has happened in various parts of Canada in the recent months. And apparently something that Canadian government is raising, saying that it could be possibly a breach of sovereignty if Indian agencies' role have been linked with the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Canada should also look inwards and know that the Khalistani movement, which it is letting flourish on its soil, is nothing but a secessionist movement that wants to annex Indian part of Punjab to Khalistani territory, so-called. So something that has a very anti-India sentiment, something that has not going to be in the interest of sovereignty and integrity of India is being allowed on the very soil of Canada under the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who is now very miffed that Indian agencies' role has been apparently behind the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. There has been another major diplomatic escalation. Melinda Jolie, the Canadian Foreign Minister, has said that she has expressed Canadian perspective on the whole issue of Hardeep Singh Nijjar and the role of Indian agencies in his killing, and she has conveyed this to Indian External Affairs Minister S. Shankar, and now a senior Indian diplomat posted in Canada has been expelled with immediate effect. So this is the latest that has happened in Canada India bilateral diplomatic bilateral ties. Apparently the expelled diplomat has been Pawan Kumar Rai, an IPS officer who was stationed there as an attaché, and he was looking after security dynamics of also the Indian community wing and economic development of India-Canada bilateral ties also. But this expulsion of any Indian diplomat from Canadian soil will be something that is not going to go down well. India has also reacted very sharply, criticizing that they reject outrightly everything that Canadian government has to say on the issue of Hardeep Singh Nijjar's killing and role of Indian agencies.
Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
Back on, ladies and gentlemen, but let me ask you, do you know something called credible allegations? There is credible proof, there is credible evidence. Have you ever heard credible allegations on which you are trying to send back a diplomat? Now, this is a week after his visit to India for the G20 summit. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has accused India of being involved in the killing of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar on Canadian soil, whom he calls a Canadian citizen. Now, Trudeau said that there are credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the Indian government and the killing of this Nijjar. Canada government has also expelled a senior Indian diplomat. India hitting back at Canada and saying that his claims made by Justin Trudeau are motivated and absurd, and that Khalistani extremists were being provided shelter in Canada. India has also expelled a senior Canadian diplomat over alleged interference, where India says they have credible proof of his involvement in internal matters and the involvement in anti-India activities. The expelled Canadian diplomat Olivier Sylvester, who is the chief of the Canadian intelligence operations in India, has been asked to leave the country in the next 5 days. The larger question is, has Justin Trudeau committed absolute political harakiri, driving a wedge between two friendly nations internationally, but giving India an opportunity to shun the diplomatic niceties and go into an active crackdown on Khalistani elements and their operations and their bases in Bharat? Has Trudeau, for his personal political gains, not just flouted international laws, but he's really soured equations between two great nations and two great democracies? Ambassador Rajiv Dogra is with us, Michael Kugelman, Director, South Asia Institute, with us, Wilson Center, and also Ramneek Singh Maan, activist. Namaste. Thank you very much for your time. Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, have you ever heard this term called credible allegations? What does that mean?
Well, if you go to any police station anywhere in the world, they will not act on the basis of allegations or an inquiry which is still ongoing. For the Prime Minister of a country to go to the Parliament and say that I am acting on the basis of allegations, I am acting on the basis of an inquiry which is still not complete, but I have not taken action on some other proofs which I have against a human rights activist called Baloch, who was drowned in a Canadian lake about 2 years back, and the investigations were mysteriously not carried through. Pakistan is abuzz. Their human rights activists are abuzz with the allegation, and this is allegations which they are confirming, that she was murdered by ISI agents in Canada. So why is Trudeau playing a double game? I can only sort of apprehend that Trudeau has major domestic problems. His disapproval rating, according to a Canadian survey in August, was 57%. This rose to 63% in September, a few days back. So obviously he's a worried man, and he depends on Khalistani extremists for some of his constituencies, for some of his parliamentary seats. So is that it, or is it in his genes that he should be anti-India? His father took no action when intelligence agencies kept telling him that some of the terrorists are busy devising a bomb which they will plant in an Air India aircraft. He chose to ignore it. The result was 280 plus individuals, including children and women, were killed in that blast. And they included also Canadian citizens. Now, talking of Canadian citizens, Trudeau seems to be living in a bizarre world, because twice Canadian authorities had rejected the Canadian citizenship for Nijjar. Despite this, he insisted in his statement yesterday in the Parliament, that Nijjar is a Canadian citizen. So unless he had ordered that ignore all the rules and regulations on a secret basis, give citizenship to Nijjar, then it's a different thing. But even the Interpol notice, Interpol lookout for Nijjar, says that he's an Indian citizen. So why is he claiming Canadian citizenship for a person who's not of Canadian citizenship at all, who's a terrorist residing there, declared so by the country of which he has the citizenship?
Now he's got trouble back home too. We've just got this update that the MP for Carlton, he's also in the running to be Prime Minister, Pierre, he has come out and said that Trudeau needs to give more proof, because what they're saying is that Justin Trudeau needs to release more information about how he reached his conclusions linking India to the killing of a Sikh leader. He says the PM didn't tell him much more in private than he said in the Commons. So there is no information there. Michael Kugelman, why would Justin Trudeau do this? And does this actually now not just sour equations between India and Canada, but also make him a pariah in the world, because the world is now moving towards India? How does this sour things for Justin Trudeau or complicate equations?
Well, to the last part of your question, which is the easiest to answer, absolutely. And this does sour relations between Canada and India in a really big way. Look, I'm not in a position to say how credible or how not credible these allegations are that the Prime Minister Trudeau has brought out. But if it's true that there is a domestic political angle to this, then I would argue that Trudeau has been very successful in that. As I understand it, the political opposition in Canada has rallied around Trudeau in support of what he came out with yesterday. But at the same time, I think one could say this. Why would the Prime Minister Trudeau have gone public with these allegations if he didn't think they were true? Would he really want to risk a rupture in relations with India? One would think that he and his government would have to have a lot of confidence that in their view these allegations are credible. Final point on this, I think it's important to look at this in the context of how Canada-India relations are now. They've been in a very bad spot for a number of months, and I think perhaps Prime Minister Trudeau felt that he had nothing to lose at this point, and that he didn't have to be tempted to think about making these allegations more diplomatically or discreetly, quietly, instead of making them public. Maybe he felt that the relationship is in such a tough spot, especially after his very bad trip to New Delhi a few weeks ago, that maybe he felt he had nothing to lose in this regard. So, I'm speculating. We don't know. I don't know the full story and why he decided to do what he did, but I think that one could argue that all types of different possibilities that could reflect domestic political imperatives in Canada, but also the views of he and his government that these allegations must be true. Hence, it's time to bring them out to the public.
No, but Michael, I'm sure you know the antecedents of this man, Hardeep Nijjar, and the kind of field play that he's been allowed despite repeated demarches and repeated reminders. He's got a red corner notice and an Interpol lookout notice against him, which the Canadian authorities are aware. The fact is right now, and as I bring in Ramnik Maan, because it was Trudeau who expelled an Indian diplomat, dropped the diplomatic niceties, there is no pressure on us to go easy on any of these. We can actually go hard on all those elements who we believe are secessionist in their approach to India.
Well, good evening, Anand, and everybody on the panel. You see, the problem with the Western countries, especially with the Canadian government as of now, Justin Trudeau is in a spot. He's made wild, bizarre and absurd allegations against a very responsible nation state, which has established itself on the global platform as a responsible and a mature democracy. India has been a country the world has been looking upon for resolution for several challenges that the world today faces, including the Russia and the Ukraine war. Now, I personally feel that the comments of Justin Trudeau are more to do with his domestic audience than with actual facts on ground. He has a major Chinese interference in his country. He has organizations like the WSO and other Khalistani organizations in his country. He is not able to maintain law and order within his country. He has Nijjar, who's been assassinated. A few months ago, Ripudaman Singh Malik was assassinated. Why does the Canadian Prime Minister not come out clear on who was behind the killing of Ripudaman Singh Malik? It was the ISI. It was the Pakistani intelligence agency which was responsible. Now, the Chinese are managing Canadian police stations. The RCMP is literally at ransom. The Chinese are conducting high mountain warfare practices in Canada. So, I mean, there are a lot of problems Trudeau is facing, politically speaking. He's running a minority government. The Liberal Party MPs have made bizarre and wild allegations in the past as well. They need to set their own house in order first before they start making wild allegations at India. They need to take care of the secessionist elements within Canada, the people who are into flesh trade, drug trade, illegal weapon trade. They need to sort their own affairs out before they, start pointing fingers at India. And especially a prime minister of a nation state of a democracy coming out with a statement like credible allegations. It's bizarre. Not that he'd never made a joke or
No, see, here is the thing, Ramnik Maan. Now, I've just have access to a tweet by Captain Amrinder Singh, the former Chief Minister of the state of Punjab in India. He says the claims by Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that there was an Indian hand in the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar are completely baseless, and he's only playing to the vote bank gallery. During his visit to Amritsar in 2018, I had brought to the notice of Mr. Justin Trudeau as to how Canadian land was being used against India. Still, the Canadian government failed to take any remedial measures so far. The other aspect is, he has not said anything about Ripudaman Singh, Michael Kugelman. He's not said anything about a Baloch activist who's been found dead. The activities of the ISI have escaped his attention. But let me ask you this. The US has a full-fledged rendition program to extract fugitives from other countries involved in killing American citizens. In this case, why is then a high moral stand being taken? Why should there be a different position taken for activities on Indian soil by citizens who are creating trouble? And why is it that there should be a different position if it is against America and citizens living in another country or in another base? So if somebody is acting against America, you can go to any corner of the world and extract them and do anything about it. But if it is as far as India is concerned, then there has to be all of these considerations taken under. You took a point as far as Hardeep Nijjar is concerned. Why is Justin Trudeau not taking a position with Ripudaman Singh?
So, no, these are all good points. I think part of the issue here is that the approaches that India and Canada take to these individuals is so different, right? I mean, we know that India regards the these individuals as terrorists, as dangerous figures that pose threats to India, to its security, to its interest on the whole. Whereas, in Canada, there's this very strong emphasis on rule of law and freedom of speech, freedom of demonstration, right to assembly, and all of that. That you're not going to have the government there take the type of robust approach to dealing with these concerns that India has about these individuals. And that's one reason why this relationship is so tense, and it's one reason why things are as they are now with India-Canada relations. To your point about the U.S., very fair point. I think one of the big questions moving forward is how does Washington approach this crisis? I think it's going to have to walk a very thin diplomatic tightrope. Washington, I think, would want to express solidarity with its ally to the north, but it also, of course, views India as a critical strategic partner. The Biden administration has been pretty quiet.
My simple point is, how would the Biden administration respond if these were elements working against the interests of America and they were Canadian citizens? What would be the approach? I have to leave it at that. I've run out of time. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. We'll continue to track this story here on The Right Stand. Winding up, Zaka Jacob ready with brass tacks.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. So the old Parliament building is now history. The legislative business of this country